Hi, it's Alaska Granny. All of us need to prepare for disasters. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you live, we are subjected to disastrous emergencies. It could be weather related, such as severe heat, extreme snow. There could be heavy rains, which bring on floods. There could be forest fires. Then we also are subjected to things like earthquakes, volcanoes, tornadoes, hurricanes. Think about all the storms and the emergencies that you could actually be affected by. Of course, wherever you live, it's going to be more regional problems. You're not going to have volcanoes in Florida, and you're probably not going to have hurricanes in Alaska, but you have to be prepared for the type of events and emergencies that could happen where you live. So we know, just for basics, we need to have a 3-day supply of clean drinking water, of open and eat food that's shelf stable, that doesn't need refrigeration. We want to have flashlights with fresh batteries, maybe a battery or wind up radio and batteries that are included with that if you need it. Then we want to have our cell phones always charged up, and get an external battery charger for that as well. You'll want to be able to communicate. And should there be a real emergency, perhaps you want to make sure you have a whistle with your emergency gear. I made a video on how to signal for help with a whistle. I'll put a link to that video in the description below if you want to learn how to signal with a whistle so that you can signal for help if you need it. Keep your car full of gas. Have the extra supplies on hand you need for your pets. Then have a plan for if you needed to leave your home and evacuate. Have a plan where you would go, how you would get there, and then you need to leave sooner rather than later so that you can avoid, for example, heavy rain, flooded streets, and rushing water that you can't get through on some of the roadways that you might need to get through if there's flash flooding. So be prepared for those things. Statistics show that less than 3 out of 10 adults are actually prepared for emergencies, even though many people say, sure, I'm ready, but they actually are not as prepared as they need to be. Let's go over some tips to make sure that you have a complete plan in place so that if disaster strikes, you are prepared to actually take care of yourself and have the best outcome. If you're on any kind of medication, you need to have at least a 3-day supply on hand. And if your medication requires refrigeration, you need to have some sort of a cooler or ice packs, some way to keep that medication cold if you need to. Perhaps you need to have an extra supply of contact lens solution, an extra pair of glasses, your hearing aids on hand, and then the batteries that would go with them if you need them. Then think about some kind of an identification band, something that gives your full name, any medications that you need, and a contact person who would be responsible for you. So if, say, your child was ever separated from you and they couldn't give that information, they would have that on, say, a wristband, or sometimes those medical alert necklaces that you can have. They have those types of things. Look over if that's something that you're concerned with, so that you have something like that. If you know a storm is coming and you could be heading out, it might be a good idea to put some kind of identification on every single person in your family. Should you become separated and something tragic happens, then you have a way for someone to assist you if they need it. Put your important documents in a waterproof bag. You need things like your identification. You need your contact information, all of the important numbers that you would need to call in an emergency, the phone numbers of your family members, your boss at work, your insurance company, your doctor, any of those important numbers that you need to call and be in touch with. You need to have that contact information within your waterproof pouch. Along with your medications, make sure you list any allergies. People seem to be more prone to allergies these days than ever before. Have your insurance information and a medical power of attorney. If for some reason you're unable to speak for yourself, a medical power of attorney in your paperwork tells who you would want to make those decisions for you. And that can sadly be very important. It's not something you want there to be any kind of a question on what kind of care you deserve and who is to make those decisions. So even though we may not like thinking we could be vulnerable in that kind of a situation, it's something we really need to plan for, think about, and be prepared. No matter what the day brings, cash is always important to have on hand, and have lots of small bills. You want to be able to buy an extra bottle of water if you need to, pay for a ride somewhere if someone would take you, if you would pay for their gas. You can pick up things in a mini mart where maybe the cash register isn't working if the power is out, and they'll still take cash for something. You never know what you're going to need to buy and pay for, and you just never know what can happen. So having cash gives you a buffer that you can still provide the things you need. And by having small bills, you're able to provide a few dollars worth of something. You aren't stuck giving somebody a $20 bill for a bottle of water because that's all you have. These are some suggestions for how to make sure you are prepared for when disaster strikes. Disasters happen to all of us when we least expect it. We sometimes have a warning that a hurricane is coming, but then there are other types of storms and issues like an earthquake. It just starts happening and there you go. So be prepared for things that could come in a few days, things that could happen in an hour, like maybe a tornado, and then something that could just happen, boom, you fell over and you're hurt. You never know. So be prepared for the eventuality that things will happen to you. I haven't met anyone who's been without challenges. Have you? Tell us what other things you think we might want to have on hand in our disaster plan so that we don't panic, we're prepared, and we can make the best of it. I hope you'll like my video, share it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.